Oops.
Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon. Welcome to this afternoon's webinar hosted by the Archdiocese of Washington, Department of Special Needs Ministries. My name is Rachel Chung, Disabilities Coordinator.
And I'm Mary O'Mara, Executive Director for the Department of Special Needs Ministries.
Our webinar today is Strategies for Celebrating Advent, Christmas, and the New Year for Children and Adults Living with Disabilities. Later in this webinar, we will have two mothers speak about their experiences during the holidays and how they have learned to find their own way to have a blessed Advent and Christmas season. There are many radio stations in our area which play holiday music all day and all night. How do you feel sometimes when you hear the well-known and well-heard song by Andy Williams, "It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year"? Depending on the day, I know there are moments when I'm ready to scream at the radio and say, "Really?" What does this time of year, though, mean to families supporting children and or adults living with disabilities? We know that the typical routine during the holidays is turned on its head. For example, schools close for a week or more. Parents can be off work and at home. Additional activities can be scheduled or programs closed for the holidays. For people working, for our adults living with disabilities, employers can increase at the hours they need them or decrease their hours. We can agree that there are many different sights, sounds, and tastes during the holidays. There's decorations, holiday music, foods are served which are not normally part of everyday meals, and plenty of sugar-filled items everywhere. A part of the holiday season is seeing relatives from out of town or just simply seeing relatives we typically see only a few times in the year. Comments are made by these relatives, which may seem polite enough to the asker, but definitely not to you as a parent. Your loved one could be surrounded by many different people who are not familiar with him or her, but want to engage. This can be very overwhelming for a person living with disabilities. For some people living with disabilities in different types of settings, such as a group home, this time of year can be very lonely. Parents who normally picked the person up for the holidays may be elderly themselves or unable to be with the person or maybe passed away. There could be broken relationships and other relatives not willing to host the person. Many group homes are filled with caring staff who try to make the holiday special. But in some group homes, it's simply just another day with nothing special being done. So many things to do in so little time. We all feel this pressure during this time of year to do it all. Buy and wrap presents, bake cookies, decorate the house, host relatives, and more. We ourselves, as parents and caregivers, are not ourselves.
The deaf community also experiences challenges, and during holiday gatherings, many conversations are going on. However, the deaf person may not feel at all included. Often there are times when American Sign Language, or ASL, is not available during Advent prayer services, reconciliation services, or Christmas Mass, especially if the deaf person is visiting relatives out of town. There are parts of the Christmas season which do not appeal to all deaf persons, such as holiday music. For some elderly deaf persons who live in nursing homes or other types of settings, there could be no one there who knows American Sign Language. The person can no longer drive or visit friends, and there is no one nearby to communicate with them.
We know one thing which helps during the holidays and probably life in general is a bit of humor. I wonder what this therapist is thinking with all his clients there struggling with the holidays themselves. We know in our hearts that Advent is a time of waiting and preparing for our Lord's arrival, but all of us can get caught up in the busyness of the Christmas season. In this reading from Isaiah, which is often read during the Advent season, the prophet reminds us of how the world will be changed at the coming of the Savior. There shall come forth a shoot from the stump of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. And his delight shall be in the fear of the Lord. He shall not judge by what his eyes see, or decide by what his ears hear. But with righteousness he shall judge the poor, and decide with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall slay the wicked. Righteousness shall be the girdle of his waist, and faithfulness the girdle of his loins. The wolf shall lie down and dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid. And the calf and the lion and the fatling together, and a little child will lead them. The cow and the bear shall feed. Their young shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. The suckling child shall play over the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the adder's den. They shall not hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. In that day the root of Jesse shall stand as a sign to the peoples. Him shall the nations seek, and his dwellings shall be glorious. We see here a picture, and children are often our reminders of the true reason of the season. Look at the joy in these children's faces here. These two children are participating in the Las Posadas celebration and playing Mary and Joseph. Las Posadas, originating in Mexico, recalls how Joseph and Mary could not find a place to stay before the birth of Jesus. Have we welcomed Jesus to our hearts this season? So let us share a couple of simple tips for celebrating the Christmas season. And these are tips that we know it's hard for us to believe and do, but they are very helpful to make sure that we have the most joyful season. So do not overschedule. You can say no to invitations. Maintain the routine as much as possible, such as meal times and sleeping patterns. Don't hesitate to give your loved one a job for the holiday event you may be hosting, such as taking coats, handing out drinks, or giving out cards. Plan for your loved one to give gifts as well. Singing a song to people is also a gift, for example. Attend events which fit your loved one's needs. So if your loved one likes to make joyful noises, attend an event of singing carols versus attending a quiet Advent prayer service. Be a visible sign of welcome in your parish. So don't hesitate to participate in the lighting of the Advent wreath during Mass, or participate in the nativity play for your children. Everyone loves a birthday party, so let your loved one know that Christmas is Jesus' birthday and celebrate it as such. And later on in our webinar, we will also show you a list of our Archdiocese of Washington parishes that will have American Sign Language available. So if you're hosting a relative that uses American Sign Language, you can go to one of these parishes so they can feel a part of your family and the celebration. So Father Frank Wright, a former chaplain for our Department of Special Needs Ministries, one time showed his own Christmas stocking from when he was a boy during a homily for a mass. The stocking had his name on it, Frank, and was a very simple one. Father Frank explained that the stocking he had from his childhood had great meaning to him, of course, since it was there in his childhood home from 60 years ago. He mentioned to us during his homily that we spend a lot of time as adults trying to recreate those childhood feelings we had during Christmas, and we try to replicate those same feelings again for our own families. Father Frank told us during his homily, let's take a moment and just be at peace with this present moment where we are and the joy of being gathered together. Look at these famous prints from Norman Rockwell. People are smiling and happy, and everything is perfect. But we know that these paintings aren't real life. Life is not perfect. Let us take joy in the present moment with our families and friends. Let's celebrate the crooked Christmas tree and laugh at the burnt cookies. Let's make new memories together. So now I think it's a perfect time to turn it over to our two guest speakers today. We're going to first hear from Donna, who's a parent of two young people living with autism. And then next we'll hear from Jen, who's also a parent of a teen living with autism. They're both joining us remotely, and we appreciate their participation. So Donna, would you like to start and share some of your experiences and what you have learned?
Sure. Thank you. Again, this is Donna Injaco, and I am a parent of two children that are on the spectrum, as you stated, Rachel. And what I do in the holiday times to help things, to ease the situation with the holiday, is also to make them be part of the festival, that whatever is happening at that time. I start out with listening to the radio. As Mary mentioned earlier, there's a radio station within the area that plays it 24 hours. My daughter loves that. So it started out slowly getting them in the mood for it, as well as I have her to write Christmas cards to her teacher. So this is more of preparing them for what is to eventually come and slowly getting them into the season and decorating, putting up the Christmas tree, giving them the responsibility to put the ornaments on the trees. Those are all things that I do. When we have to go to functions, I try to get in early enough where I will have a table that is convenient for us as a family. It's not close to the speakers where the music is coming, because I know they can be sensitive to sound. So arriving on time, early enough to get a seat away from the loudspeaker is real helpful, as well as positioning yourself at a location where you have easy access to the restroom is also something that to keep in mind when you're out, when you're going to functions. I would say that's about it for now, unless I can think of something else.
Okay, thank you, Donna, so much. Jen, what has been your strategies and tips you found that can make a joyful holiday season for your family?
Well, it is it is a huge challenge when you have one of these one of the kids that are super sensitive to any minor change in the household. So everything that, like, any decorations inside the home and outside the home, we have to include Jake in doing, because if he would wake up just one morning and have a whole bunch of stuff sitting out, Santas or, any lights or whatever, that would be upsetting. That could throw him off a couple days. So we really, prep him a lot. Like, okay, today we're going to be putting up red lights? You think we should put him here? Like, give him a voice in it and have him have some sense of control of the situation. And you can always, as the parent, have the final decision. But if you, if you see that he's not going to like a string of red lights, that's over by a game that he normally plays, just move him. Like, I think we all get caught up, like you said, in that Norman Rockwell image, what Christmas is supposed to be. Well, we stopped traveling over the holidays because going to other people's homes and seeing their Christmas traditions and their large family gatherings was way too much. I can remember 2 or 3 times where we would find Jake out in the middle of the street or hiding in the bathroom or somewhere because it was just too many new things, too many different people, and different traditions. So we do everything really very, very low key. And it took a while to figure it all out. We always have exit strategies wherever we go. And I think the biggest or the hardest thing for me was forgiving myself. It is okay if you have to walk out of church for 10 minutes and then go back in. It's okay if you only get 5 minutes in there because you know what, you're there and that child is seeing that that is something important that you should do on the holiday. You just have to, it's not going to be like when you were growing up and everything, when you were a child and thinking it was perfect. Right now, you're meeting the needs of someone else before your own. So, like our Christmas tree this year, it literally has 6 ornaments on it and a little sash thing that went around. We just tried something different. And Jake came in, and the first thing he said is, "Wow, that tree is so organized." Like, I never thought, like, instead of saying, "Oh, it's pretty," it's got lights and stuff, I didn't know how he was going to respond. But by him saying, I mean, he is 16 now. So apparently, the last 16 years of making our tree with all of these memorable ornaments from our childhood was very upsetting to him. And that was that was a button, like some type of a trigger for him. So even stuff we didn't even know about until today when he walked in and said, "That tree is so organized. It's so nice." I had no idea that I was totally irritating him all these years past, So it's just really little things. And it's okay to do things different. We do a birthday party. We make a birthday cake together. I don't make cookies because I'm an awful baker, but I can handle a birthday cake and a box mix. Okay. So that's what we do. And it's okay because he knows that it's about Jesus and he knows it's Jesus's birthday. We sing happy birthday, we blow out candles, and that's it. It's very, very quiet. So
I support you, Jen, with that. It's having fun and at the same time be relaxed, because once you show that you're relaxed, people around you will see that. So if you were, at a party, like we're scheduled to go to a party next week, it's about having fun and dancing and being part of it. Once others see you doing that, they're not focusing you as that family with the child or with the children. With a disability, everyone is just having fun. They're just in the mood. So I think that's key. It's like you said, forgiving yourself and being part of it. It's another thing to keep in mind.
right. And Donna, also, I don't know if your kiddos are like Jake. I know one of your children, and I love him, by the way. A lot of our behaviors are reflections of me or reflections of my husband. So if we're going somewhere and I know it's a big deal and I would like to stay for the whole time and I would like to take part in this without having to behavior manage, he feels that. I swear he's got a sixth sense and he knows and he can feel when I'm upset or anyone in the room is upset before I even admit to it or admit it to myself, and then all of a sudden I realize his behavior is really off. What am I doing? And there's my shoulders are up by my ears and my legs are tense and my hands are clenched. And then I'm realizing, holy moly, I am providing his stress right now without even realizing it because I'm hoping to, do something that I wanted to do for the holiday, So it's his reactions and his behaviors a lot of times are reflections bounced off of me but magnified like 10 times. Do you have that?
I do. I often used to have an idea of what is going to take place outside based on how things are going on inside, during the process of dressing and just preparing for the whole thing. When there's laughter and just happiness, 99% of the time I could see that still throughout. But once we start with maybe slap in the head or just irritable, I pretty much start having an idea of, okay, this is what it will look like outside. And again, I have to say, it's about me having to pull myself together and try to bring calmness and peace in the process while there, to show that, okay, it's okay, we're going to get through this. We will get through this. Because you have an added pressure put onto you when others are looking how you're going to handle a situation when you're out there. So you're right. What starts happening in the house and how things are working also impacts, the outcome at times too.
Right.
Like I say, for us, sometimes my younger one, who is verbal and she's on the higher end of it, she'll say, "We're from a crazy family," and I say, "You're so right." That she has a sense of humor. I'll say, "You're the leader of the pack." She said, "Well, I have a crazy mommy and I have a crazy daddy." I said, "I am so happy that you realize you're from the crazy family, so it's okay."
Yeah, that's excellent. That's an excellent observation, because there are times when I actually feel like that myself. It's hard to go to, usually during the big holidays, we don't make it to church. We go after, or we go before, or we'll go to a morning mass, because that's a really hard thing for us when there's all sorts of new eyeballs of everybody that comes on Christmas or Easter, like the big holy day attendees, during the regular month, our regular, it's fine. Everybody knows us. They know that we're going to run around at the sign of peace and we're going to yell, and that's okay. But at the big holidays, if we're there and nobody knows who we are and nobody knows our stuff, yeah, it's tough to remain calm the whole time. And I often feel like, oh man, I wonder what they're thinking. But we'll just take a lot of breaks. We walk in and out, we go in and out and leave, and a lot of it has to do with what my energy level is. If I'm just exhausted, I can't manage all that. So I give myself a pass and I'll go the next time. I'm sure God understands.
I think you're right.
I've learned, and you're absolutely right. I know Father will say, "Oh, you need to be here every Sunday," and I also have to go by. I know the load that I am carrying and what it can be like, and you feel the temperature of the house. And I'm not just saying your thermostat, but just in general, what it is going to be like for you. And those are things that I've learned in time to come, getting, to understand that this is what we can do for this moment right now. And I do that. It is stressful when you are the domestic engineer, as I will, say to, what do you do?
Yes.
I run things around here. And people was like sometimes, they're clueless to it. But I am beginning to understand too how to just maneuver things and, take things. Bob has his ritual, and at times we've reached a point where we're all laughing together now, not so much necessarily laughing at him. Like I said with my younger one, she runs her mouth. She's like the comedian of the family, even though she's on the spectrum too. And you could be eating and Fob will run and get things, and start shaking it. And we'll just laugh at it just to have fun. If not, it would be just so stressful. But it's also knowing when to say, I need to pull back, to just breathe in. When you see things happening, you're out there shopping and things become intense. It's just like, just breathing, just take it in, enjoy that moment, and just stop worrying about what others are saying and thinking about you, because someone could be just looking at you and going like, wow, I just feel for that person. How can I help that person? Not necessarily saying, oh, what are you doing here? Even though some are thinking about it that way, but just live for that moment for what it is, what they're doing, and move at your own pace. Don't do things at the last minute, like, you're trying to rush to a crowd or something. Just take it easy when you're out during this time, because that could also be a trigger as well. When you're standing online waiting for food, they're hungry, try to figure out, you know that this is lunchtime. It's within lunchtime, get ahead of it. Don't wait until when that child is hungry or the adult is hungry. You're rushing and trying to get things, and knowing that you have 20 people online and it may take you another 30 minutes, and now it's becoming more and more, where you're going like, oh my gosh, what's happening? So it's trying to think about these things ahead of time. I know sometimes as you go further into dealing with life, you begin to see these things that become natural for you as time goes on.
And
Donna, what do you do with presents? Do you exchange presents and do you wrap them? And because for years, we couldn't wrap presents because Jake can't deal with surprises. So we would have like one surprise on Christmas morning, but then he would see the other present. Like, do your kids handle presents that are wrapped?
Well, for my younger one, like I said, she has Asperger's, so for her, rewrap it, she has no problems with it. For Forb, it doesn't matter, and that's always been the challenge. Forb is about a need. What is it that it doesn't have? There's nothing specifically to say, well, he likes this kind of remote control or any toy. He's not into that. His is usually clothing. That's or him being part of a function, and he understands the celebration and the enjoyment, and he'll sit and dance, or he'll stand and dance. He'll enjoy that moment. For my daughter, she's a technology person. She'll tell you up front what it is that she wants. It doesn't matter if you gave her $200 for it. It's like, no, I'm not interested. This is what I want. I want a Nintendo. I want a PS4 or whatever it is. What it is that she wants. So again, I'm at that spectrum of where I have someone that is over on this side and the other one is over on the other side. One could care less, they're landing on the moon or not. The other one is like, no, this is what I want. It's specific about it, very clear. She sends her list and demanding in a way, I'll be honest.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And it's almost having an attitude sometimes like, I am supposed to get it. And, that's also something of having to teach her that no, it doesn't mean because you request for this that you have to get it. Like she has an iPad and she feels she needs this pencil. And I said to her, no, this pencil is $100 and giving it to you, I know it's not going to last. And it's for her to understand that she doesn't have to have it. That's the other piece to it again when you're dealing with someone who's at that higher end too. They feel like when I ask, I should receive. So
right. Yeah.
Balance that. Those are some challenges too that I am working through with her, because once it's in her head that this is the gift she wants, she feels that yes, I must get this gift. Oh,
right. Oh, I know that. Yeah, we want. Jake asked for a computer that's like hand built and $4,000. So I'm like, okay, that's not happening. So I don't know. I'm sensing some disappointment coming ahead here, but that's just not even realistic. But he thinks he has to keep up with technology. That's what he says. Well, but there's something new. I'm like, there's going to be something new every single day. You cannot just keep buying the next one and buying the next one, but there's no sense of that money value or need. He just gets fixated on something and he has to have it. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one this year, I think.
And
there's a challenge with, like you said, the money value, and when you deal with someone who is in the technology world, because it keeps changing, that's the challenge that we are faced. Technology is good, but at the same time, it just depends on what they're using it for.
Right.
And if I could share, this is Rachel, something interesting that happened just last night. We had a meeting at my parish, and we were sharing about the challenges of when Mass takes place, how it's overflowing for Christmas, right? Because of all the extra people and everything. And one of the parishioners who has no connection with a person with disability herself mentioned, without me saying, she says, for our community here at our parish, we have many people that come with different types of needs, and we welcome them every Sunday. And she says, I don't appreciate when other people give them those looks. And I let them know that, hey, this person comes to our parish every week, so you need to accept them. So I think that kind of points to what you were saying earlier, Donna. The more you participate, the more other people will begin to see this person is part of our parish, and we accept them. And when other people come in, we can educate them on that this person is part of our parish.
You're absolutely right with that, where for me, I can tell you, as well as the school system, it's the same. The head, the leader of that institution makes the difference in how they respond and interact with these individuals, because people can be conditioned. If you see the priest reaching out to these individuals and shaking their hands and trying to communicate with them, people will come on board, because it's like, oh, okay, Father Travis accepting Forbes, he shakes Forbes' hand, he embraces Sarah, then it's like, okay, the same thing just as in the school system. As a principal, the teachers see you talking to the principal, you're laughing and you're smiling. Oh, they have a relationship. So that is really key in being able to have the head of the church to also have that interaction with that family, so others can see and come on board and understand that, guess what? They are part of the community. They're accepted. And like I said, Forbes is, everyone knows in my church. I have people who come up and say, oh my goodness, I saw him from growing up, when he was this high to here he is now over 6 feet. So that everyone at the church knows who he is. So it's not a concern if we're having a function and he's moving about. It's not something I would panic, because, someone would be offended. It's like, there's no one in that church that doesn't know Forbes, and it's not because of bad behavior. We sit right in the front row. So I think after being out there and just being part of the community, even going to the stores in the community, like Costco and other stores, Best Buy, they all know us, because, it's like, oh, we know them. They come in here all the time. And you're at ease yourself. You're more relaxed, too, when you're out there. So, they're not watching and going like, oh, what is this person doing over here? So it makes a difference.
Yeah, definitely. And I liked how that parishioner shared that she was very ready to say, welcome. No, these are our parishioners and you have to accept them. And again, it was more that she did not want them to be singled out and stared at during our Christmas services.
Some people like that. I met a gentleman in the store, and he, I said, Forbes, come over here and stay with me. He's like, oh, no. I was telling him to go back and get the card and help you out, and I was like, of course, thinking that maybe Forbes was disturbing or something like that. So some people are like that in the public. They will definitely defend, take up for you. If they were to hear something being said about, your child. So there are good people out there. I know that. I've experienced that. And of course, we have the other side to it that, it happens every now and then. And part of it is just ignorance. And you don't want to find yourself in that situation either, to deal with ignorance a lot. It's good when you meet the good folks that are there. And I've met, believe me, more so good individuals out in the public who are willing to share their own story or just wanting to know what's going on more so than the negative part of it. And again, I think personally for me, part of it is just me learning just move at a smoother pace, just to be more relaxed with myself and who I am. It also helps too to ward off some negative issues. It's not going to ward off all of the negative, but for the most part, when people just see that you're being calm about your situation, how you're handling your family, they tend to just move on with their lives as well.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to open up our webinar to some
let's maybe see if anyone has any questions or if anyone would like to make any comments. You'll see there on your screen that there is a section in the drop-down menu where you can ask a question or make a comment. So if you would kindly take some time right now, and maybe what we would like to do is to give you time to put in any questions or comments. We'll go ahead and share some resources with you so that you have time to post those questions or comments. So we want to just maybe talk about some Advent and Christmas celebrations in our area. So your parish here, Rachel.
Yes. So as we discussed a little bit earlier in our webinar about different events that are intended to bring the whole parish together. So at St. Rose of Lima Parish in Gaithersburg, Maryland, on December 19th, there will be a cookies and carols gathering, which the teen choir will be helping us to sing our carols, hopefully on key. And a very simple event, but yet your singing ability is not needing to be good or expert. We have people that join us who use joyful noises to express themselves. And again, it's just an opportunity, and all are welcome to attend that Cookies and Carols, especially if you're in the Gaithersburg area or beyond. And again, it's just an opportunity to bring the parish together, and a way that if your loved one enjoys making joyful noises, well, we welcome that as well. That's all part of our Cookies and Carols gathering. And of course, later on in February, there'll be a dance as well for our young people.
Another important piece of information that we would like to share with you are where there will be interpreted liturgies over the Christmas season. As Rachel mentioned, this may be for persons who are deaf in your own families, children or adults, but also if you have family coming into town that would not typically be going to Mass with you, but if you have a deaf member of your family that will be visiting, that this resource is there for you so that you know where you would be able to go to find an interpreted liturgy. So that is there for your reference.
And also, again, all are welcome. We will be hosting here at our own Pope Francis Center a Las Posadas celebration, which again commemorates the journeys of Mary and Joseph to find a place for Jesus to be born. And that will be on December 22nd, starting at 6:30 p.m. And again, it's not only a time for our Spanish-speaking families with loved ones with special needs to come together, but again, it's that opportunity for all to come and celebrate this tradition with, of course, plenty of food and music, and all are welcome to that celebration as well. And also, again, another opportunity for singing Christmas carols and coming as you are. Haven Universe will be hosting an event at Lakelands Park Middle School, again in Gaithersburg. So again, just another opportunity to come as you are and enjoy singing and a Christmas traditions of that.
So we also have listed here some resources that you could go to find things that are happening in your area. Our community resource models have their websites posted there. Each of them have different activities that are happening around the holidays that you could check into depending on where you live in the Archdiocese. And also the Find the Perfect Gift link for the Archdiocese of Washington. You can also find the interpreted Mass schedule on that link as well. Michael Howard, also sharing the story of Kwanzaa, is listed as a YouTube video on the Find the Perfect Gift link of the Archdiocese of Washington. So we certainly do invite you to explore all of these various resources that are available there as well. We I am not seeing currently any questions or comments that are posted, but I wanted to just share a few thoughts that are off of what Donna and Jen were sharing. So, both of you talked about exit strategies, which I just think is brilliant because we all need to have exit strategies. And speaking as a person that comes out of a lived experience and family experience of living and sharing life with deaf persons that are deaf, this is also very important that there is some sort of a high sign where the person that is deaf is able to say, okay, look, I've sat here kind of alone, smiling and nodding long enough. We need to get out of here. So those exit strategies are truly very important. But what is also, I think, essential, or what we have learned as a family, is that entrance strategies are equally as important. And Donna, I think you are certainly pointing to this as well, to discuss as a family before you enter into a situation what what is your high sign for one another, or what are the things that you are going to recognize, to know, and to be able to affirm one another when it is maybe time to leave or wrap it up, or things are getting overwhelming for one member of the family. And maybe even to ask prior to, and to talk with family about being understanding of others who may need to leave, that members of our families understand that this has got nothing to do with them, that there's, nobody's rolling their eyes as we walk out a little bit early, that people truly understand that this is no reflection on anyone else. It's just what we need to do to be able to be comfortable and happy in that situation. Donna, did you want to say something? I'm sorry.
Right. In going in someplace, often we talk about where we're going, first of all.
Yeah.
If it's someplace new, we talk about it. And of course, sometimes we talk about what is expected in terms of behavior. We discuss that. And if we're there and things are not working out, usually it's not an issue. I've never find that to be an issue in leaving and people not understanding what's going on.
Right.
Sometimes for me, that's like a savior in trying to just like de-escalate the situation. It's just, okay, this is it. You've had enough. I realize that it's time to go. But that's usually rare anyway. But we've been in that situation where we had to leave, though.
Right.
For the most part, as he gets older, he's beginning to understand more and more, and it's usually not an issue when it is time to leave.
And isn't that fabulous? But Donna, I would say that's all to the credit of your family for having had those conversations and kind of going in with an entrance plan, if you will, and to be able to then have, that exit strategy kind of all discussed and decided ahead of time, so that folks that are all part of your larger family can kind of lovingly affirm you in whatever accommodations are needed for your family, and that you find your own fun zone to celebrate. I think Jen and Donna, both of you, have so eloquently shared with us today how there are certainly ways that for every family you kind of need to find your own way to experience that joy and fun. Jen, your example of the decorations on the Christmas tree are such a perfect example of that. That Jake enjoys that Christmas tree. He goes in and you might look at the tree, or somebody that doesn't know Jake very well might look at that Christmas tree and think, but Jake says yes. So, finding your own fun zone and knowing exactly what it is that is going to create that joy.
It's creating your own, I would say, unique family.
Yeah.
Like, if you come to my house, my refrigerator is like a blackboard for my daughter to teach her things from school. She has a tutor, and she'll say, put this index card up here and do things. So you have to create. It's not about going to someone else's house and go like, oh my goodness, it's so perfect. Things are in the right place and da-da-da. It's you creating that own uniqueness in your own place too.
That's right.
Like with my daughter, when she was in middle school and elementary, and she'll come home with things, with the grades or something, I'll put it on the fridge to acknowledge that, yes, you did a great job. Great. I'll let it stay there for a while. I'll replace it with something else again. So it's gaining your own uniqueness, again, with your family, understanding your family. Like I said, we laugh at each other in our family. At times we're sitting at the dining room table, and my younger one would go like, "Oh, I'm in a nut family." I'm like, "Yes, you're the master. You're the one that is leading this family." So it's creating that joy too within the family, and not look up on the person's gift, like I'm trying to use that term instead of saying disability and focusing so much on that, but just relax. Just relax. We're in a season again where we tend to think so much more on the financial aspect of it more so than what it really is about. So let's just go out and just enjoy that as just part of the season and just going out and being out there amongst others, and use it as an opportunity to work with the individual, how to mingle within others in a congested area too. It's also, taking them out too. It's also a great experience for them at this time. Now, it may not work for everyone, but it's a learning process. You have to think about as they're getting older, they're going to be part of society. So it's a good opportunity is to just to get them out there and try to mingle as long as they will allow or they're able to, handle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, Donna, to thank you for sharing about your lived experience too of taking the temperature of the day. I'm not sure I'm quoting you accurately there, but in saying and knowing, where you are as a family on that particular day, just like all families, we have good days and we have bad days. We have days that we can knock off 3 things and days that, it's just going to be a stay home kind of day. But what you were sharing about being able to understand that within your own parish too, and knowing that being present on a very continual basis in your parish is not only transforming your own family into a pattern and a tradition for your nuclear family, but for your parish family, there is an additional transformation, and in that way, we are all mutually transforming one another. Correct? We are able to share what our lived experience is like as a nuclear family, but we have to recognize sometimes that does have a transformational effect on the parish family as well.
And you're correct. And you're absolutely correct. I have people many times that will come up to me. I have a lady who came up to me. She said, "Well, I was the principal of a special needs school." And I was like, "Really?" And people would just come up and start having conversation with you. Again, the key is about you just being relaxed about the situation and what you're dealing with. People will come. They will want to have conversation. They can find interesting things about what it is that your child doing, or just information. They'll say, "Oh, I know this program over here," or "I know what you could use to help this individual." So again, being out there and being in the parish, it helps a lot. Being part of the community. Do not always think, and I know at my church I had to say to them, to be able to state when you say we're having a function, say including those with a disability are welcome as well. And people started coming more because it was like, now I know that you're calling me and you can handle my situation. People started attending functions more now with children or adults with disability. So it was great. And others their eyes are beginning to be open, more aware that they're existing. They're within the community and how you respond to them. So it's great to see that we're also transforming the parish by being there and they're seeing us and see how we're functioning, and just to see how God is moving in our lives, and working with us through the process. Because we've come from a long way. We used to sit in the back of the church, and now we're in the front pew. So that's a big transformation.
Absolutely. And isn't that just what the Lord is calling us all to do as head of the church and being one body of Christ? That he wants all of us to be together in giving him praise and glory. That's the whole purpose of being one church. We have no separate church. We are one body of Christ. And Jen, too, to what you had shared about the idea of maybe finding ways, simple things, like you had said, okay, so the larger masses where there are lots of people attending might not be the easiest for some families, but to find a way to say, okay, well, we'll go to a quieter mass that is the evening before, or just one that it might not be that 5 o'clock children's mass on Christmas Eve, which tends to be crazy in whatever parish or you want to be with. But Jen, I think it was a great idea of finding ideas that will work for your family, that along the way. That there are ways to kind of change the schedule around so that it works for you and that it's a positive experience for you and for your family. So
Well, I think it's important, and thank you for that, the kind thought, that it is like some of our kids, I mean, especially, well, I'm in the middle of teenager land, but some sensory wise, you just can't deal, like in a big space with a ton of people up close. It doesn't even matter if they're looking at us or what the feeling in the room, it matters of personal space and being able to sit without someone sitting too close to you, or if there's a pretty girl over here, or if there's a boy you might know from school over here. There's so many factors that go into the decision, to go or to not go. Like right now, our senses are extremely heightened, and it would be very, very uncomfortable and challenging for Jake to sit through a whole mass at this point in time. But you know what? In a year, maybe. Up until now, up until very recently, we had gone every single week. But now other things bother him now, and it's just a stage in our growth and our processing and that's okay. We'll go during the week. We can sometimes pop in before school and go to daily mass, which is in the chapel, which is teeny and tiny, and those folks all know Jake, and he jumps around in the back and is totally cool, and that is what we can handle at this point in time, at this hour and this day.
Right.
And then that is totally, it's okay for any family if they're feeling that at that point, if it's going to be painful for your child, like physically painful when they're smaller and just not able to sit, and you're constantly sit down, sit still, you can't, it's not fair, so let them choose a quieter mass where they can roam in the back or they can walk around, and it's okay. That's part of the forgiving yourself thing that I had to work really, really hard on, and I still work on it. There's times. So
Through that, Jen, and I went through what you're going through now with Forbes, where we will go in and next thing you know, in 15 minutes. I don't know that, the time frame, it just was always like the same. It's like, bam, it's 15 minutes. I can no longer tolerate this. So,
right.
Or myself, and we try to come back in after a little while, and if he can tolerate it, we stay. If not, he'll just stay outside until the mass is over. But we went through that phase, and what people need to understand is a phase. Everything that you're
right.
going through, right?
Yes, exactly. And cut yourself some slack. It's okay. Like it's all their development, and it's their needs, what they need to do. And it's all okay. So exactly.
Meeting them where they are at the time.
Right.
Through a phase of like every top that he wears be irritable to his skin. We don't know. I went through this phase with him years ago, and I see myself going back through it again with him. But just as how I was able to overcome it over 10 years ago, if you buy a new shirt, he's ripping it off, don't know what is causing it. I'm also looking forward to get through this phase. So just
Right.
you're waiting for that time and praying. When is it?
Yep.
When is this phase going to end that I'm going through? And believe me, I went through that phase that you're going through now. I lived through that. I know what that is like.
Well, that's good that you survived, because that gives me hope.
And thank you, Jen, because that's a great way to say there is hope. That's what our Christmas and Advent season is about, is hope. So our next scheduled webinar will be on January 10th, 2019. But please stay tuned to this, as we may need to change the date for this particular webinar, because this webinar will be on upcoming legislation in the state of Maryland. We will focus on the state of Maryland at this particular webinar. So there are last minute changes and additions, but our plan at this time is to have that webinar on January 10th, 2019. And we are committed to bring you this information about upcoming legislation so that you can be a voice as a caregiver, parent, or an individual living with disabilities, because we know many voices joining together can really help bring about a change in our local community and, of course, in our statewide community. Thank you so much to Donna and Jen for sharing their experiences. And I'd also like to note on our resource page that Prince George's Community Resources website, I have mistakenly put down the website for Hispanic Community Resources, but Prince George's Community Resources website is www.pgcr.org. So we will make sure that's corrected. And this resource page is available as a handout on this webinar, along with two very good quick articles from interfaith partners on, again, ways to strategies to have a very blessed Advent and Christmas season. So again, these are some of our interfaith partners have put out great information on different tips and strategies as well. So again, thank you to Donna and Jen for sharing their experiences. We value the wisdom of our mothers and our fathers, although they tend to be more quiet, our fathers. But we really value the wisdom of our mothers here, Donna and Jen. And thank you again to all of us, all of those who joined today on our webinar. And we will have these webinars available again as the previous ones on our special needs resources page on the Archdiocese of Washington webpage. So we wish you much peace, joy, and happiness during this Advent and Christmas season. So thank you, everyone.
All right. Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Take care.
All right. Thank
Okay,
you.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.